So welcome back to our channel, and we start the new series for the class 12th physics. And in this series we will discuss the academic portion from for your board examination. Okay. So the first chapter of your class 12 physics, that is electric charge and field. As the name of the topic, the electric charge. So what is electric charge? क्या है electric charge? So when we define the electric charge, we can say the electric charge is something possessed by the material which make it possible to respond in the electric field. Let's take an example. If we say for the two electron, suppose we have the two electron, the electron of mass Me, and these two electrons are separated by the distance of 1 centimeter. So as we know, the mass of electron, that is 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kilogram. So when we see the force of attraction, the gravitational force of attraction between these two electrons, then we found the force, this is G Me into Me over R square, 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11 into 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 of whole square upon 1 into 10 to the power minus 2 of whole square. Then if we solve this value, then we get 5.5 into 10 to the power minus 67 Newton. This is the gravitational force of attraction between the two electrons when the two electrons placed at a separation of 1 centimeter. And when we see the electrostatic force of repulsion between these two electrons at the same separation of 1 centimeter, then it is found to be the electrostatic force of repulsion between the two electrons at a separation of 1 centimeter, that is 2.3 into 10 to the power minus 24 Newton. So when we compare between these two forces, this is the gravitational force of attraction between the two electrons at a separation of 1 centimeter, and this is the electrostatic force of repulsion between the two electrons at a separation of 1 centimeter. So it is found that the electrostatic force is large as compared to the gravitational force. That means the two electrons repel each other. However, when the two electrons repel each other, that means the electron have some additional property. The electron must carry some additional thing with itself, and that additional thing is called electric charge. So let's take the example of the electric charge you see in your daily life. One of the most common example of the electric charge you see when we comb our hair with a dry comb. So when we comb our hair, dry hair, and on the other hand there is a comb. So the comb and dry hair, these two gets the different kind of charge. That means the combs get another I think this is the positively charged negative charge, and the dry hair become the positively charged. Okay. On the other hand, if we rub the cat fur, with rubber or plastic, cat fur with ebonite rod or the umber rod, so the cat fur become the positively charged and the ebonite rod become the negatively charged. One more example, when we rub the glass rod, with silk cloth, then the glass rod becomes positive charge, and the silk cloth acquire a negative charge. In the same way, you can see in your daily life the woolen cloth. When the woolen cloth is rubbed with plastic, then the woolen cloth acquire the positive charge and the plastic acquire the negative charge. So these are the some examples from your daily life in which we can see there are the kind of charge. So when we categorize the charge can be categorized into two categories. One that is the positive charge, another that is the negative charge. Now, if we say the charge exists, the categorize of the charge, so the charge must follow some property. So we will discuss the property of the charge. Property of the charge. Property of charge. And the first property that the charge must follow, that is the quantization of charge. Quantization of charge. What is quantization of charge? Quantization of charge basically, if we see the free charge on a system, then charge is always the integral multiple of basic unit of charge. लेकिन किसी भी सिस्टम पे जो टोटल चार्ज होगा या जब चार्ज ट्रांसफर करेगा तो किसके फॉर्म में होगा? इंटीग्रल मल्टीपल ऑफ बेसिक यूनिट ऑफ चार्ज. बेसिक यूनिट ऑफ चार्ज मे बी द चार्ज ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन और मे बी द चार्ज ऑफ प्रोटॉन. यानी कि किसी भी सिस्टम में जो फ्री चार्ज होगा दैट इज ऑलवेज द इंटीग्रल मल्टीपल of basic unit of charge. How? By Q is equal to NE. यहाँ जो n की वैल्यू होगी द n कैन बी वेरी फ्रॉम -n टू +n, यानी कि -n से +n तक कुछ भी n की वैल्यू हो सकती है एंड दैट मस्ट बी एज अ होल नंबर. ठीक है. सो इफ वी टेक एग्जांपल, इफ वी से कि इस 3.2 coulomb charge exists. If we say if a body acquires 3.2 coulomb charge, is that possible for the body to acquire a 3.2 coulomb charge? So we can see by this formula, a charge always is a quantized. That means Q is equal to NE. So N is equal to Q upon E. Q, that is 3.2 upon 1.6 into 10 to the power -19 coulomb. -19, so that becomes 2 into 10 to the power 19, and this is the whole number. So we can say that this charge exists. This is the charge possessed by the body. At the same time, if we say is 3 coulomb charge possible for a body to possess, so if we divide this amount of charge by the charge possessed by the electron, and if we get the whole number, अगर ये क्वांटिटी होल नंबर में आती है then the charge exists, otherwise the charge does not exist. This amount of charge does not exist. And the another property of the charge, that is the additivity of charge. What is additivity of charge? So when we define additivity of charge, suppose we have a system and the system contains a charge, system possesses a charge, that is the plus Q, minus 2Q, plus 3Q and minus 5Q. अगर मैं आपसे कहूं कि इस पूरे सिस्टम पे टोटल चार्ज क्या है, तो इफ यू से द टोटल चार्ज ऑन द सिस्टम, दैट इज, लेट्स काउंट, if you say that is plus Q plus 2Q plus 3Q plus 5Q, This way to count the charge is not correct. ये चार्ज का ये जो तरीका है काउंट करने का, ये तरीका नहीं होगा. So to find out the total charge on the system, the one thing we must count the charge along with their sign. अगर charge positive है, then you have to consider the charge as a positive. If the charge is negative, then you have to charge along with the sign negative. That means the total charge on the body कितना होगा? That is plus q minus 2q plus 3q and minus 5q. That becomes 3144 minus 2 plus 2 plus 2. That means minus 3q. That is the charge on the body. That means when we say the additivity of charge, the additivity of charge is the total charge on the system is the algebraic sum of the charge present over the body. यानी जब आप additivity of charge को define करेंगे, तब आप define करेंगे कि additivity of charge is the total algebraic sum of the charge present over the body. The total charge is algebraic sum of the charge present over it. That is the additivity of charge. Now the third one, that is the conservation of charge. What is conservation of charge? So when we define the conservation of charge, first of all, to define this property, the system must be isolate. यानी कि सिस्टम जो है किसी दूसरे सिस्टम से किसी वायर के थ्रू कनेक्ट नहीं होना चाहिए. That means if we have a system and the system is not connected to any other kind of system, so this is called the isolated system. And for any isolated system, the total charge is the conserved. That means charge either be created, now be destroyed. It can only transfer from one substance or from one material to another in a process. That means the total charge of an isolated system remain conserved. So there are many examples for this. First of all, just define the definition. The total charge of a isolated system remain conserved. And there are many examples for this. And the first one, the most interesting and the most important example of this, pair production. What is pair production? In pair production, when gamma ray photon materialize, यानी जब gamma ray photon material में convert होगा, तब वहाँ एक इलेक्ट्रॉन और एक पॉजिट्रॉन क्रिएट होगा. That means when the gamma ray materialize, it create one electron and one positron. And when we count the charge, so gamma ray photon having the charge 0, and after the reaction minus 1 plus 1, that becomes 0. That means the total charge before process is equal to total charge after process. So here that equation follow the conservation of charge. The another example is pair annihilation. Pair annihilation. In pair annihilation, when an electron and positron combine, it always forms two gamma ray photon. And if we count the charge, so before the process the charge is minus 1 plus 1, that is 0, and after the process the charge is 0. So it also follow the conservation of charge. And the third example from your radioactivity, if we take the example of 92 uranium 238. So uranium 238 is a it start to disintegrate automatically. So when it under the suitable condition, so when it start to disintegrate, it always emit the alpha particle. and alpha particle is the isotope of helium. So it convert into 2He4, that is the one alpha particle, plus it convert 90 thorium 234. And when we count the charge, so before reaction that is 92, after reaction 2 plus 90, 92. Similarly 238, 4 plus 234, 238. So here also it follow the conservation of charge. And now in the next series, in the next video, we will discuss when the two charge brought close to each other, maybe of the same polarity, maybe of the opposite polarity, then what will be the force and what is the nature of the force. Okay? So we will discuss in the next video. Thank you so much.